That's right. He gets to come here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. But that's the goal.
I've enjoyed it. Are you? I think you.
No. I wanted to do that sometime. I know that the reps one time, that couldn't get out of my butt.
6 o'clock, calls me to order.
Hager. Wertz. Shaw. Hanson. Erickson.
Here.
Bose. Bauer. Here. Lucian. Here. Hiller.
Here.
Wolf. Mullard.
Here.
Moretti.
Here.
Francis.
Here.
Youngs.
Here.
Thomas.
I
I certify it was.
need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll move to approve the agenda.
And I have a second. Secretary Waller. You talk. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, then we need to approve the minutes of August 26, 2025 as presented. The motion. Motion by Muller, second. By Bill Thomas. Does anybody have any changes or corrections they've seen? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
I oppose. Staff communications, do you have any? I have a couple things. I'll start out with, the last discontinuation of the local community development block grant, small cities housing revolving loan fund, RLF fund is no longer. There's no longer nothing for that. Discontinued, they sent this letter to make sure we told everybody. And, second thing, another good thing is I got a letter from the Wisconsin Department of Children and Families congratulating us on Teresa Way. Aaron County Child Support Agency demonstrated excellence in all four performance measurements, term establishment, court order establishment, current support collections, and raised case reductions. Benchmarks were all, she did great in all of her agency, was one of 20 that honored this year. She got an award for this. Congratulations, Teresa. Haven't given her County, Teresa. Okay. Then my last thing I got is somebody, some local, man, donated $25,000 to our 911 system. Wants to be named, wants to be named anonymous. Me and Clara sent him a letter. Thank you for the donation. That $25,000 matched Casey's grant for our 911. That was really nice of that gentleman, and I want to thank him even though he doesn't want us to. And if something got in communications, community chairman report, how much you fall, start with you. Let's start with you. You got anything, any committee or anything? You got no report? Mario?
No.
Amy?
Yeah, I had an aging advisory meeting, and as always, we do meal site updates. And under Springstead, Cal Passner shared that the meals are going well in Springstead and enjoy the meals that are delivered coming from the Mercer Senior Center location. Under Mercer, Olson shared that the Mercer Senior Center will be offering a salad bar starting the second Thursday of each month. First salad bar offering will be October 9th. Loeffler shared that the Mercer folks really enjoy the new cook, Marty Armada. Marty seems to enjoy them as well. They have a good volunteer base and have 2 volunteers that help with serving the lunch and helping Marty in the kitchen. And Lawler had no updates for Mercer at that time. For Iron Belt, Matson stated that the Iron Belt meal site has been steady and and that they are enjoying the refreshed and remodeled space of the Iron Belt Community Center. And continue to enjoy Susan's cooking as well. For Saxon, there was no representation, but however, Olson also noted that numbers in Saxon remain stable and folks are enjoying the cooking in Saxon there. Early Olson also provided updates regarding the Human Services Board and the County Board to replace the convection oven at the Hurley Senior Center. That's on the agenda for discussion. Basically, the current oven is not working at all efficient for the last 2 years. Then Olson shared meals served and revenue data, reflecting year-to-date reporting. She also shared nutrition site survey results. Olson provided data collected from congregate dining sites from all 5 locations. This survey is a requirement of the GWAR, and overall results show that most participants are very happy and satisfied with the current nutrition program. Then Olson provided her ADRC EBS manager's report and reviewed the following: staff caseload, staff reporting for months, ADRC outreach events, new signage installed at ADRC, and then noted that the health department is offering flu shots at both Hurley and Mercer Senior Center locations. Hard dates on them. There's a reference for public.
They're already done.
Oh, they're done, I'm sorry. Okay.
Springstead and Mercer.
Okay. And then we talked about transportation data and revenue year to date, and she provided the ridership reporting and revenue on that. And then lastly, for discussion of unmet needs, Lauer asked what other counties are offering for seniors. So there's a little discussion on that for different ideas. And Olson branched out to a discussion about evidence-based programs that can be explored, and that the state puts out a list of approved programs that interest more participants to get active. However, with limited staff, it makes it difficult to offer multiple programs. Lauer felt that there may be some interest in Mercer with volunteers willing to take on such a role. And next.
We got Bill.
We haven't had a meeting, so everything's running smooth.
Down there, that's good, boy.
Summit.
Planning, water, and recycling to meet, but I have an update from our county conservationists. Construction projects have been completed. There were culvert projects in Pence and town of Sherman, just waiting on towns for reimbursement. On the field day for agricultural producers, showcasing conservation projects and soil testing demonstrations. Organizing an education and outreach panel for town boards and link groups on wake enhancing sports. Conducting site visits for 2026 cost sharing projects. And then from our conservation specialist, she's working with Hurley and Mercer schools on education and outreach field days, wrapping up invasive species field work, working on the reporting for that, and working on coordinating an envirothon team. The county hasn't had an envirothon team.
The Memorial Building, we're having a fundraiser on October 18th. Raise money for a wheelchair ramp and there's tickets out there. So dinner, dance, and the fairgrounds were buttoning up everything. We're starting to sort boats and campers. Just started a couple weeks ago, so that'll be done in a couple weeks. And the barns will be full.
Still Bill, eh?
Pretty close.
Feel bad.
Zoning, we had our meeting, and we were running behind on permits for most of the summer. Then we started picking up and got ahead on what we were last year. And it's basically all that there, airport, all I can see is watch for a change, because they're going to be changing the flights back to the old schedule. I don't know exactly when it's going to happen yet. We'll probably find out at our next meeting.
It's gonna happen November 2nd, Pat, because I got I tried to get out of here, and it's gonna change November 2nd. It's gonna land here at 10 o'clock in the morning. I called out there. I was trying to get out of here, but I was trying to book it. You know, it's always been 3. All of a sudden it's at 10, so I called her.
The other thing we're working on out there is we're trying to get in some smaller hangars, get them heated. We've had some inquiry into, they wanna start up a flight school out there at the airport. So they would like to have their planes stored where it's warm. And we're working on that right now to see if we can manage to swing that for. That would be about all I have.
And then they didn't ask, they remember you thought they were gonna ask us for more money and they didn't.
No, not as of yet.
No, we were there.
We're good for the rest of the year, so.
Thank you, Pat. Scott?
Forestry Murph, no meeting this last month. Next meeting is October 9th. Stumpage though, 1,447,057. A year ago was 1,254,879, so we're plus 192,178 currently on stumpage ahead last year.
Thank you, Scott. Say anything, Carl?
Sheriff's Department, staffing wise, we're seeing okay. We got a new road deputy that's been working out well, and a new male and female dealer.
Please.
Right now, we're doing okay.
Thank you. Gary?
Here's a few things. Health Department, they approved their budget for the Board of Health. Opioid settlement work plan, prevention continues to advance on the opioid prevention efforts with community partners. Focuses on Narcan and their training and access for that. Vital strategies, matching opioid settlement grant award to public health with goal to reduce harm and stigma, and engage community members in monthly AODA coalition meetings. The hours of operation for the health department is going to go to the summer hours year-round, 7:30 to 4:30 Monday through Thursday, and 7:30 to 11:30 on Friday. Concerns are being shared in regards to changes in the CDC and creating some dangerous gaps in nation's health security. With the health departments, in particular hospitals, clinics, rely on the science-based information that the CDC provides. Currently, there's a national disease threat with measles, overdose crisis, Zika, West Nile virus, and disease prevention with immunizations. So it's just, there's a very great concern in regards to that. Jail nurse compliance, the department is in compliance with Chapter DOC 350 on the site visit that they had. We have an intern, Alessandra, I'm not going to pronounce her last name, is an intern who worked for the Wisconsin Area Health Education Center with the Environmental Health Department. And she's going to continue her work this fall with the Health and Human Service, Health and Human Performance. So she'll be working with the flu clinics, harm reduction, social media communication, maternal child health objectives. We have programs that are doing really well. The Birth to 3 program had a perfect score with an assessment. Prepping for flu season, at least 400 flu shots are available this season. The ACC 72 has been submitted and received by state legislator with an increase in hotel and motel and first rooming house license fees, which is a boom. The wage study was discussed and the importance of recognizing our staff. Human Services, we've had several meetings this month and last month. WEUP energy program position was discussed. An existing staff member is being trained as an office coordinator WEUP position. Lauren Middlefield, she's a social worker A, will be taking this position. WEUP funding is at risk right now. Last year, $469,000 was paid out last year to Iron County residents. Discussion of federal funding cuts could impact the program. Funding cuts would affect the county resources for administering this program. Staff, the time to do the work with the county could be responsible for the cost. Concerns were shared about the Medicaid funding cut. It impacts children, the elderly, and those in nursing homes. Medicaid cuts will impact our most vulnerable in our communities. So there's concern there. Resolution 2025-4030 was approved and moved to finance to approve and advertise for a CCS, CSC, CLTS case manager position. North End Counseling contract manager's position in the past. And now North End Counseling and Iron County have come to a mutual decision to end the contract. Not in the best interest of North End Counseling to maintain this contract. The current contracted employees will become contracted employees of the county, which includes the psychiatrist, AODA counselor, and OWI assessor. The interface with the EWAS, I'm not going to pronounce that right, that is a system that is exchanged with the state, was installed and is working. So thank you for getting that work done. Children and family update. There are currently 4 children in out-of-home care, a decrease of 2 since last month. There is a TPA or termination of parental rights petition that's in process, filed for 2 other children. The children's unit is doing a fantastic job and really needs to be commended for the work they're doing. Crystal Farrell and her team are doing great work. Double oven needs to be replaced now at the Hurley Senior Center. I think you talked about that, and that's on the agenda. Proposed human services budget was approved and forwarded to finance. Transportation. We've had a lot of meetings on transportation over the last few weeks, exploring how to provide our transportation services to the county. Transportation services are primarily in the Hurley region with limited services in the southern part of the county. In discussion with community members in the southern part of the county, people do not know that transportation services are even available. There is a volunteer driver service for the southern part of the county, and that has been working. So the county has explored utilizing Bay Area Rural Transit for the entire county. We received several proposals from BART. That's called BART, Bay Area Rural Transit. Public comment on one of the meetings questioned the quality of service provided by BART. Through discussion between several board members in Price, Ashland, and Bayfield County administrators, as well as Pat Doust, who is the owner, reassurances were obtained that BART provides high quality service and care to their customers. 4 proposals were presented to the Human Services Board on 9/29 to determine which proposal would best meet the needs of the whole county. Proposals 2 and 3 were eliminated before the vote. So the 2 choices that were obtained, ADRC would provide the services to the whole county and add a driver for additional hours to serve the southern part. And BART, proposal 4 was BART would provide the transportation services to the whole county. Through discussion, ADRC would retain the volunteer driver program. The contract with BART is a 0 levy impact because of the grants that BART has and the 8521 grant that the county has. The Human Services Board unanimously supported proposal 4. The Human Services staff will work with BART to implement the change in service provider. The start date will be January 2nd, 2026. Discussion on service area was also done at this meeting. The service area needs to expand to ensure Iron County residents have transportation for healthcare, food, shopping, wellness services, pharmacy services, etc. The Human Services Board unanimously supported increasing the service area to include Iron County, Ironwood, Minocqua, Woodruff, Park Falls, and Ashland. So transportation will be available to food and services in those regions. There is 8521 money available to allow other transportation options for the county, including for Highline, in which bidding will be managed through the Transportation Committee. So, let's see. Other things. The We Up Energy program was discussed. Oh, wait, I already did all that. I'm good. That's it.
Yeah, you were very thorough.
I always am.
Yes, you are. Roxanne.
All right, we had a UW extension 4-H meeting in mid-September, and just real high-level things that we went through. Becky Holm talked about the website and the changes. Hopefully, we'll see a website rollout in mid to late October here. I think the date was the 22nd. Great Party talked about the budget, and then through the extension budget, the 4-H budget, which had very little change for 2025, other than salary increases. So that was commendable. Neil talked about the Night Under the Stars movie night, and sounds like that was very, very well attended. And then I talked a little bit about the Baldwin grant, where 4 counties doing study of what's it like to be in Wisconsin, community in Wisconsin, and there'll be 2 research interns, 2 video production people, and 6 community-based. Get that right? And then we talked about the food-wise personnel positions being cut federally or statewide, and those are done as of December 1st. And then Joe Miller announced that he had finished digitizing, in other words, scanning a big red book code of ordinances. And so that's now to a condition where it can be put into the website and hopefully uploaded to our website and then maintained from that point forward online. That is great. Thank you.
The website is gonna be nice. It's gonna be nice for the other towns to be able to get back on. Night and day and what we got. That's what I said. Tanner.
All my meetings were covered.
At a finance meeting, stuff's on tonight's agenda, approve the short-term borrowing for the, recommended approval of short-term borrowing for the Kyle Floyd land, recommended for some long-term disability insurance for the employees, due to draft budget, approve the hiring of the human services position discussed, purchase of double oven at Hurley Senior Center and RT Vision software, both on tonight's agenda to come from leftover capital fund last year. Discuss the wage study, which we'll talk about a little bit back in August. Hiring Nottingham Butler for insurance program. Also,
Got a few things. Me and Jay attended the Wisconsin County Association. Wisconsin Delta was very, very good. We had 3 code sessions. We got to connect with a lot of other people from other counties. We learned a lot. We broke out. I went one way, he went the other as far as the break code session, so we covered more.
yeah, I thought so too. It's my first meeting, obviously. I've been here 2 months, so
It was the first time I went.
once a year. And, yeah, meeting our counterparts and sitting down with them. It's really beneficial.
Maybe a couple other things is, just to let you know, we sold the Jeep at the EDRC. If they're using, when they need something, they go to Forestry. Forestry comes through again, or let me use the van. They'll be past the budget. And then we gotta give them. That, and then the last thing, Becky put it on her website and everything, where somebody, I can't think somebody, people are putting plastic grocery bags in brown paper bags and then putting them in recycling. And we're getting big for it. And we got nailed at all 4 sites. You got Mercer, Early, Saxon, and Springston, all got in. All of them, what was it? All of them $98. And they ain't doing it on purpose, you know, people that are, the ones that are recycling are conscious. So they either don't know or nothing. Well, I got the highway, GC ordered me 4 big signs. They're going on, I need one fluorescent green, but for a bag in a big circle in red that don't bring in bags. The only ones that take in bags are the grocery stores and Walmart. Super One Walmart, that's it. If they come to us, it's killing us. It's killing us. And we can't
Also,
see.
the Mercer Library will take them too.
They won't.
Yep.
That was a bad thing. That's another thing I might want to do. You go ahead.
Facilities maintenance, Bill and I developed an operational vehicle tracking system for all courthouse-related vehicles. Bill is cleaning the Plywood Palace storage area. One space is now empty. Bill and Sawyer installed 2 new beautiful signs at ADRC this month. IT, Danny and I developed a project tracking list with tentative completion dates. It's the green list I handed out. This report will be updated weekly and available to everyone via SharePoint in the county's workforce. The goal is to improve transparency and accountability. So we're going to have transparency and accountability for our IT projects. We also started working on a comprehensive IT strategic plan. This is going to be completed by the end of the year. The IT strategic plan basically lays out where we are currently, all of the IT, including printers and how much we pay for everything. And then we're gonna look at possible options to streamline and to save some money IT wise. As you can see from the green list, on October 14th, there's a bunch of due dates, pending due dates for Windows 11 refresh. Windows, after October 14th, Windows 10 will no longer be supported, so Danny's been working hard on that. Child support, if someone would maybe give me that letter, I could give Teresa the kudos, but I'll say that Teresa continues to exceed all DCF metrics. She was #1 in the state last month. Last month, August, right? Teresa, or was it July?
July.
Sorry, July. But yeah, she continues to exceed all metrics in all 4 major areas, and she's well above the state averages as well. Teresa and I are in the process of updating and streamlining her reporting, so next month, hopefully we'll have a new report you guys can look at for child support. There's a lot of really good metrics we can provide. Committee meetings, I went to law enforcement, airport, memorial, aging, human services, like 17 times. No, just twice. Three times, yeah. And zoning, so they were all very good meetings. I think we'll have forestry, economic development tomorrow night, forestry, and Fairboard. Those are the ones I haven't hit yet. I got 3 left. WCA conference, we covered that. Valuable connections. It was really, really valuable. Spent a lot of time talking to Nick from Price County. He's a great guy, smart, been doing this for a long time. And Mark from Bayfield County, part of Bayfield County. He is also a very bright guy and has been doing this a long time. We both had a lot of conversation. They're there to help too. The nice thing is you make those connections and they can pick up the phone. All other topics I have will be covered later in the agenda. We've got multiple resolutions, so everything else is covered in the resolutions.
I'd like to see some achievement here. Shared services, we talked about in Wisconsin counties, and they told us how hard it was going to be to do it up here, and here we did it. Shared services at Mayfield, just with child support.
Thank Mark for
Yeah.
for working with us on that. We
Did
talked about
that,
it.
and this IT vision or whatever in highway that he's going to say, damn it. I'm there. He's going to be alive doing something. He's doing stuff.
Well, you think I'm doing that.
Okay, we're coming to number 10, public comment.
I got
Resolution
something.
20, then hang on. I just want to say public comment is public comment. They got 3 minutes. Nobody on this board responds. I don't want to debate. Public comment is public comment. Going forward, yes, Paul's going to go first.
Okay, I heard rumors about people being moved to different offices. But tonight I received a letter, what's planned. It's a breakup extension. I don't think we should break up any of it. I think the place to start is the senior center. We got 3 nice offices, that are totally empty. Why? If you're gonna spend $10,000, fix these other areas up. Let's fill up the senior center. With all the people that work there back, we had a senior advisor, he was there, people could go talk to him at lunchtime. About taxes, health insurance, anything. Because he worked at, retired from Social Security. And he knew everything. And also, I don't think we should separate the clerk and deputy clerk. That's one team that works together, and they have to stay together. If one is off, who's going to fill in? It just doesn't make any sense. I think all departments should stay together. And I think the idea to hire a finance director is a waste of money. We should try to find an accountant on a monthly trial basis. And call them, schedule them every month, 2 months, whatever we need. But I don't think we need somebody full-time. That's all I have.
Thank you, Bill. Any more public comment? Teresa?
Hi, I'm speaking as a resident of Iron County who attends the majority of the open to the public meetings. And I just want to say it was a year ago, almost to the day, that the board was tasked with making difficult decisions. There was $1 million deficit, cuts needed to be made, positions were eliminated. Some staff took on additional responsibilities to make up for those that were eliminated, thus reducing the services that they were providing of their regular jobs. So here we are again, conversations are occurring. I've been at meetings where a department was informed that a position they had coming open wasn't going to be refilled. I've been at meetings months ago that departments were going to be moving around and individuals moving before any of that came to the board, which gives the appearance of conversations and decisions being made outside of this board. It shouldn't be a surprise that we need to make cuts. You know, we are a rural county in financial strain. The departments have been asked to create their budgets of need items only, not wish lists. That makes perfect sense. But what doesn't make sense is looking at the money spent within the year since that meeting where board members said we won't be able to make payroll. In that year, we have spent money on a website, a wage and benefit study, hiring the insurance brokerage firm. We've formed committees, handbook committee of employees, and if they were paid wage, flex, or comp, that did cost money. And that handbook is still sitting on the website today in draft form with strike-throughs. We rebranded the county logo. Again, if that's an employee who was paid wage, flex, or comp, that was paid for. We hired a county manager, needed. I've been at meetings where it was the employees who gave creative ideas of, let us do the finances. Thanks to a couple board members that gave tutelage, departments felt confident that they could do the finances. From what they learned, that wouldn't cost any additional money. A department volunteered to move into UW Extension, so that way departments wouldn't have to move uprooting services and people, and it would cost no additional money to make room for the one position you created, which is now turning into 3.5 by hiring a finance director, taking the deputy clerk out of the clerk's office, and UW Extension office manager half-time. That one position that was approved is now 3.5. That's extra cost, when that's cost that could be going back in to the county. Security of this courthouse was discussed many times. This is the time. Violence is not decreasing. That just seems to be left at the wayside. I'm in District 2. Mr. Loretti represents me, my neighbors, my friends. The decisions that he makes at this board affect me and my neighbors. It's okay to acknowledge not having the answers. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to pause and say, you know what? I need to gather information so I can make an informed decision. Because the decisions made here do impact the community. They impact the people that are already struggling with services being cut all around them. Thank you.
Anybody else? Mary?
Hey everyone, I'm Mary Pardee, Area Extension Director for UW Extension, so the department head for the Iron County Extension. We do appreciate the county's efforts to create space for additional offices in this building. It happens a lot in counties where they're running out of space. Extension staff has actively contributed to this process, including submitting a joint proposal to the zoning department to consolidate space and free up their entire suite without breaking up any department teams. We've also provided written documentation of our space and support needs to continue delivering programs like 4-H, youth camps, economic development, digital equity, mobile food pantry, youth leadership council, among others. The current budget narrative proposes repurposing the extension suite for a new Department of Administration. While our office manager, Becky, will remain in place, other staff will be relocated or left without designated workspaces. Becky will also take on additional administrative duties for the new department. As plans move forward, potentially as soon as October 8th, we still have several unanswered questions. According to the yellow sheet shared tonight, you have designated potential office spaces around the building for Neil and Joe and Kathy. Deb is still here until December, as was noted. There's no space for her. And where will our 2 summer assistants work? In addition, how will staff access shared equipment like the printer, copier, and laminator? Will this equipment stay in the Department of Administration? These things just haven't been worked through at this point in time. What is the plan for visitor reception and our phone calls? Where will we store our program materials, such as our Nordic skis and boots, snowshoes, and additional educational materials? How will we prepare for large events like summer camp for the county fair, which require a lot of staging space? We do fully support the county's goal to optimize the space. At the same time, we ask that extension be provided with the space and staff support necessary to continue our valued outreach and education work in our county. This may include renovating other meeting rooms or identifying alternative storage and prep areas, which at this time has not been done for such a thing. So thanks for your time.
Anybody else? Lara?
I just have a comment on the hiring of a finance director. The current draft budget creates the Office of Administration, which would house the county manager and as yet unhired finance director, and would take over several of the duties that have traditionally been handled through the clerk's office. I don't know if it's a fear that someone unqualified may someday be elected to do these duties or what. I don't know. But I do know that our current clerk and her deputy are neither incompetent nor incapable of learning what needs to be done. When Ms. Nugent came on board as the interim administrative coordinator, and with her CPA background, she worked very closely with the auditors and with us, our departments in turn. We now have a better understanding of how the auditors need things done to avoid all the year-end journal entries that were required of them. In the past, that was never explained to us. The auditors just did them. If there are financial reports that need to be done, let Kristen and Kathy see if they can do them. Many of the duties listed in the job description of the finance director are things that the clerk's office has already been doing. If they don't know something, they both have expressed the willingness to take classes to gain the knowledge to complete them and to learn. Or if you have to work with them a bit, as you'd have to do with a newly hired finance director. Hire a CPA to come in on an occasional basis to review. Give them a chance before basically dismantling the clerk's office. Use the talent we already have. See how it goes. Revisit the issue if it doesn't work. The tools to these jobs were given. Let us now see if we can use them. Thank you.
I don't like what. From videos I have gone back and watched. I don't like the. All your public. Position, but. Recently, start paying attention.
As everyone here may or may not. I am just curious to why none of the board has ever come and spoke to myself regarding the changes that are pertaining to my office. I will not get into a heated debate regarding if things can be done or cannot be done by myself or my deputy. Those things are conversations that should have taken place. I want to know if there's a few individuals that feel they know what I do in my office, that they feel it should be a part-time position. There are 71 other county clerks, and they are all full-time, and they have a full-time or a part-time deputy. I want to know if there's going to be any change, being that you're going to take my deputy out of my office that I appointed. I'm allowed to appoint another deputy, but that's not been addressed. I'd like to know those answers, and I feel that myself and the electors of Iron County are allowed to and deserve that answer.
Just a couple questions. First of all, I feel like I was we talked to the corporation council on this, on the trees that this being done. We thought. Secondly, this would be the only county that doesn't have full-time clerk in the state of Wisconsin. That's the direction we really want to go.
I really, like I said, public comment, I don't want to get it.
Right.
But
I totally get that.
I don't know where you heard she was gonna be a part-time clerk. I don't know where that came. It came from this board. Nobody on this board said that. She's gonna be part-time. Sure, didn't say it.
Yeah,
Can I argue on this one?
This board seems to say a lot in session.
Maybe they're not talking to the rest of the board.
Yeah, where?
No.
Anybody else? And with that, we're public comment, we're gonna go to number 11. Resolution 2025-4029 approving short-term borrowing for Xcel Energy dial storage land acquisition project. I need a motion.
All right, good work.
I'll second. Comments, it's seconded by Paul Muller. You want to explain this there, Mr. Erickson? Here,
Mr. Peters,
Mr. Peterson.
hello. This is the final
Yeah,
interest on the loan.
Yeah, so this resolution is just authorizing the county to take out a short-term loan to finance the, purchase of the Xcel Energy lines around the Gal Flowage. That purchase is 100% grant funded, but before we can get reimbursed for the grant, we gotta spend the money ourselves. So this is I think it's a 6-month, Jay, I'll let you fill in the
It's a
details.
6-month, no prepayment penalty, prepayable at any time, 3.75% rate. It's a loan through Chippewa Valley Bank for $5.5 million. And all the same notes, basically, just from the previous meeting. But yeah, the interest has already been budgeted in 2025. And we've been approved for the loan as soon as if this passes. As soon as it passes, we can approve the loan. Yeah, Eric completed the really nice resolution to buy the land around the Val Flowage, and we have grant money.
We're looking at closing hopefully sometime in the beginning of November.
Is it? Okay,
We're waiting on a couple different things and
okay.
we should be ready to go by early November.
I'll talk to you about that, make sure you're aware of that.
anybody have any questions about that? We have a motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 12, resolution 2025-4031, purchase of a double welding for the early senior center in the site. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Support by Paul Holmes. Ready to go. Okay, that's been long overdue, one of them don't work, right?
Wait.
We all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Number 13, resolution 2025-4032, purchasing RT Vision Time Plus software.
So RT Vision is,
We need a motion.
oh, sorry.
I'll make the motion.
By Scotty,
I'll second.
second by Pat. Okay, we're gonna discuss this.
Yeah, it's a time and materials and project tracking software. I think you guys are probably relatively aware of it. We talked about a little bit about it over the last few weeks. We did a trial demo in both forestry and highway. Both forestry and highway were highly in favor of the program. The program would save a lot of time and energy, especially on the front end with entering time cards. Ultimately, if we found it to be with the demo, we found it to be a useful and effective tool. It will streamline the processes in forestry and highway saving approximately 50 to 60 combined hours every month. The cost is $9,500 for initial setup. And then the first year, for the first full year. So it's $9,500 for the startup of the first year, and then it's $3,500 for each year thereafter, with a 3% potential for cost increase every year.
You did a great job on it.
It's a nice program. Anna, you want to say anything? You like it?
No comment.
It's a change. It's a big change, but it's a good change, I think. You'll save you time.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, and carried. 13, resolution 2025-4034 for inclusion under the income continuation insurance plan. Need a motion.
To approve resolution 2025-4034 for inclusion in CCFA and continuation insurance.
That's a motion. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Question on this.
So I'll quick run through. Income continuation insurance covers employees unable to work due to an incident. The program replaces 75% of an employee's income after an elimination or waiting period. That waiting period is usually somewhere between 30 and 180 days. I discussed this program with Wisconsin Employee Trust Funds. Currently, there is a premium holiday. The premium holiday means there's no cost to employees and there's no cost to Iron County. That will stand for the entire year of 2026 for sure. It could end at any time, but it has been active, the premium holiday, for 12 years, which means they've taken in more funds than they paid out, so they've got more funds to pay out, and they're not charging any premiums at all. We would have to sign up by tomorrow for this program, so we've got the document. Kristen and I made sure we've got the document ready to go. She's got it all filled out. For a January 1st start date, we would have to start on January 1st. So that's the one caveat. If the premium holiday does come to an end, a rough estimation of the yearly premium would be about $15,000 a year for the county. And each employee would pay approximately $38 a year for every $10,000 in income. Now that's based on previous rates from a while back. So there's no telling exactly what the rates are going to be, but I just want to make sure that everybody understands that would be a rough estimation. However, if we have a full year of service, so in other words, if we start on January 1st and we decide to add a premium in 2027, we could opt out of service. Decide not to continue. But for the year of 2026, it would cover every employee cost-free in case something happens.
Do we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, and carried.
So is there a time and place to get employees enrolled?
Yes. Well, I talked with the ETF, they would help us handle a lot of the filing process. We've got an entire system. So it sends that much documentation. Yep, the deadline is October 31st. So we would have if this gets passed, it's going to be a busy month of October, along with insurances. This would be part of the whole employee package.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, that's carried. Resolution 2025-4035 authorizing Iron County to enter into the opioid settlement agreement with Purdue Inc. Need a motion.
Make that motion.
Second, Wallen, seconded by Roxanne. Anything on this?
I don't.
Callie or Diane?
I didn't
How
know.
about you, Melissa? Anything you guys are on? Just entering into it.
This is the other one. This is the one that's retroactive.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're doing with that. A resolution 2025-4036 delegating authority to enter in settlement agreement with opioid defendants to designate Iron County officers opioid settlement team. Need a motion. Gene, all seconded it. Discussion on this, I think Melissa, the sheriff's department, and Callie are doing a good job on it. I would take it away from them. The other things to do, the other stuff to do. doing a great job, so we're just letting the department head do it. You got right there.
Well, this team of three, actually, this previous resolution to authorize a Sandoz settlement or Walgreens comes in or all these different opioid settlements. What this resolution does is it says that team of three people can make that decision to enter into each of those opioid agreements. They won't come to the board anymore. Okay, so that's what this resolution is really doing. Okay, so a team of three gets to make that decision, and every other one that comes in now from going forward. Do you guys understand that?
You understand it. Hands up. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's one. 17, discuss an action on the 2026 draft budget. And be quick.
Okay, the information included in your budget packet is a draft budget for discussion. It does talk about some of the things brought up tonight. I would say since September 10th, I've received updated numbers from Florida Interact Analytics on estimated tax revenue, the DOR on shared revenue, updates from Human Service Emergency Management budget, made some classification changes. We've been told that the health insurance increase is coming in at 7.5 instead of 9.5. Things of the work is CUD. And bottom line of all those changes is a net positive to operating income, but it doesn't material change what's in here. So we'll talk about that in a second. Plan is to provide Kristen a revised condensed version of the budget with those changes on Thursday. And then Murph's idea is to next Tuesday meet, talk about what we want to put in the paper for public comment, public hearing, and vote on whether we want to do a finance director. So that's coming up next week. I would say that I think 2 weeks ago, Kristen had sent out the entire packet. Budgets, it's a 20-page packet, so budgets are as much as anything a roadmap. And they're primarily a financial roadmap of where the entity or the company wants to go. This budget in particular is important because it's proposing organization changes, and Murph wants to make sure every board member has a chance to ask questions and understand the budget. I did the best I could in summarizing what's happening and provided 20 pages of detail. I think overall this budget does three things. Formalizes department administration, including the hiring of a finance director, begins to address some of the findings and recommendations in both the wage study and the benefit portion of the study. I think it provides a framework for how to pay for that in the total context. And I think it's important to note that 2 years ago, this county lost $1.3 million. I think it's important to note that 18 months ago, the county treasurer went to the county chair and said we had 18 months of cash left. There's been a lot of changes in the last 18 months. The budget deficit last year when we started this as this board last February was $2.3 million. So this budget, I think, provides a framework to do it. There's questions on why you want to hire a finance director. We'll talk about that more next week, but I would say that skills provided by a professional accounting person cannot be replicated, taught. If it was, it would have been done already. It's something you go to school for. It's something you get trained on. It's something you do over again. And if the county wants to go in that direction, that's fine. But this is my last budget. I did the 2024 budget, $2.3 million deficit. I did the 25 budget. I put this budget together. Nobody else. Other people could have certainly stepped forward. I don't get paid. I don't even take a per diem. We have people that say they want to do it, then we could do it.
I think it's a big mistake not to have a finance director. We're an $18 million company with 90 employees. And it is just absolutely, I think, unheard of for a business of that size not to have a professional finance department. I know that's not how it was done years in the past, but it's my recommendation on where to go. And I think it's Roxanne's too. Roxanne spent 6 months working on this as the administrative coordinator. Jay and I talked about it a little bit, and clearly you have a crossroads. This board wanted to know how we're paying for it, and I think what this budget does is show you how it gets paid for. So I'm gonna go through it, because we have to put a budget together, and it has to get passed. We have to pass the levy. So the first thing in the budget talks about the levy and the equalized value. If you turn to page 5 of my handout, it's got a schedule of the levy. So in this version of the budget, the levy goes up $173,000 or 2.88%. The increase equates to $9.95 per $100,000 of equalized value. So if you own a home for $100,000, it goes up $10. If you own a home for $200,000, it goes up $20. The base levy increases $52,000 or 1.14, limited by net new construction. That portion that I highlight in section B of Schedule 1 shows that we have the Saxon Harbor loan we're working on, and it also includes the 2025 CapEx loan. I think what's important about the CapEx loan this year is down in section C, it shows how those funds are being used. And because placement costs up in human services and the work of the children's service area up there has been so good this year, we actually have some savings. And you can see on the right side of that column, I'm recommending that we utilize the CapEx loan in that manner, primarily to put more money into the capital fund so that we can pay both for some office remodel costs, but also the purchase of a new vehicle and perhaps a communication tower. If you look at section E on page 6, that's an allocation of the levy. 6.2 million and now gets allocated to all the towns based on equalized value. If you look at section E, it talks about tax rate. Tax rate per $100,000 is $355. If you look at the Green Book comes out every year, compares all 72 counties. It is actually green. That would put Iron County pretty much smack in the middle, 36 above us and 36 below us, 35. So that's the rate for $100,000. That is the levy and equalized value portion of the budget. The board has to decide what it wants to do for a levy, and that we have to decide that. Next week. Second part of my narrative talks about the Office of Administration. This budget does create an Office of Administration. Comprised of the county manager and the director of finance. It does take all county functions, mostly all county functions, transfers them to that area. The deputy clerk position becomes an accounts payable accountant position and reports to the director of finance. And the county manager as the director of finance, IT, child support, and building maintenance. So yeah, it's a change. Many of the financial tasks and responsibilities that historically flowed through the clerk's office and not otherwise mandated statutorily will now flow through the Office of Administration, or would. This, of course, is a change in the workflow in the clerk's office, but many counties have made that change as the complexity of adhering to state mandates, reporting requirements, and accounting standards has changed. It's pretty rare in any county not to have a formal accounting staff on board. The clerk's position is not getting cut to a half-time position. I don't know where that came from, a part-time position. But clearly, the statutory mandated duties of the clerk is not a full-time job in Iron County. We're not big enough. It's just that simple. We're not that big enough. We're one of the smallest counties in the state, And the clerk's office has always performed non-statutory duties to fill out the 40-hour work week. And so as part of the organizational change, clerk would have to assume some different clerical or administrative duties. And yes, that has to be figured out. But first you have to hire a finance person and get them on board and get them acclimated. And I don't see a whole lot of changes happening for several months. But that does have to be worked on. There's not going to be an answer to every question here today. First, you got to have a decision on whether or not you want to proceed in this direction. Go to page 2 of the narrative. It talks about the organizational change. It does create the Department of Administration. It does house an extension. It would require 6 people in 2 offices. Section 3 talks about summary of revenue and expenses. So on Schedule 3, the 2020 budget is just under $18 million, which is about $3.5 million less than the 25 budget of $21.5 million. But if you want to get to comparative purposes, the core budget increases $343,000 or 2%. When you adjust for the 911 system upgrade and the $4.1 million for the fourth land acquisition. I think it's important to go through the addendum real quick because there were some questions raised. And I think everybody needs to understand this was a draft budget. It's what I had at the time, so things have changed a little bit. So I'm going to go through that real quick. Go to page 8. Page 8 is the general fund revenues. So what's going to change a little bit is we have to set the library levy, and we also have to put on a culvert bridge levy. It's something that the county has not done in the past, so that has to be added. Under county sales tax, kind of midway through taxes, that sales tax number probably will increase. Forward Analytics is projecting a higher number. I think they've been pretty close to that. Go to intergovernmental revenues, first line item state aid is going to go up to $352,000 instead of $348 based on what we just received from the state. And if you flip to the page 10, the based on the changes to supplied funds, and I'll talk about that in a second. It's going to change a little bit once all these changes I talked about get washed through. But I want to talk about general fund expenses because that's important to understand. There's a couple of questions on that. General fund expenses start on page 11. Board expenses, you can see increase from $37,000 to $17,000. No, we're not giving ourselves a raise. But what happened is that we didn't have all the clear data yet. Our budgets were all prepared using a 6% health insurance increase. The quote we got 3-4 weeks ago was well over 10. We got it down to 9.5. So I had to plug a number in here because I didn't know where health insurance was going to end up. Health insurance ended up at 9.5% instead of 6%. I'd have to come up with another $50,000. So I took a chunk of money, I plugged it here, and I said, we got to wait and see where this is going to end up. So that number is going to get reallocated. That plus our wage study, and we'll talk about that as an agenda item coming up a little bit, gave us some things that I think we should work on. The board's got to decide if it wants to work on it. So I have a little bit of money in there to begin the process of addressing some of the findings in the wage study. So I hope that's clear. Budget. Board's budget will be 42.5, pretty much the same as it's been in other years. Last year it was a little lighter because people were taking per diem. Administration budget goes from 5,000 to 383. Administration budget includes the 3 people I mentioned, the county manager, finance director, and the moving of the deputy clerk over to become an accounts payable payroll account. You can see that in the clerk's office, the budget gets decreased by about $100,000. The administration part goes up because those items were not budgeted. County manager or the finance director. The Office of Administration, and I'll get to that in a second, also includes about $40,000 in consulting consultants to help us with the transition. If you look through the other changes on the expenses under district attorney, you can see a jump in costs. That's primarily because we had employee turnover. So when you have employee turnover, you budget for family insurance instead of single. And I don't know where that's going to end up, but that's why that went up. You look at the courts went up. There's pending retirement next year for someone who was hired a long time ago, served the county well, but if you were hired before January 1st of 2014 and had full benefits at the time, you're eligible for a sick leave buyout. That reflects that sick leave buyout, so that's a one-time thing. Land fees went up. Land fees, I think, is one that we could have a conversation on, because I think anytime you get grant money that can offset payroll costs in a way, I think we should take advantage of that. We didn't. We did last year. This budget does not. You and I are having some internet communication problems. I think it's something you should always try to do something, even if it's only $10,000. You look under public safety. One change comment is I asked some questions to Stacy about his budget. We resubmitted it, and that 3,500 is going to go up under 911 emergency government to about 35,000. Under health and human services, child support had a formula problem in what they had initially submitted, so there'll be a small tweak there. Veterans budget goes up because there's spending, Eric spending is non-lapsing funds. So if people give donations to a specific cause, it gets put into what's called a non-lapsing fund. I don't have a great way to match up revenue and expense with it at the moment. But anyways, there's over $5,000. So non-lapsing funds that were previously collected. Flip to page 12. Northern Water Library. Actually, it's the library. It's not just Northern Waters. It's the library portion of the levy. Could be 56,000. I think we have to. Well, that will be the number, 56,000. The question is that revenue, does it change or not? I'm not sure. Did we decide, Kristen, if Northern Water Library invoice is part of it or not? Or still?
I don't think it's part of it, even though I questioned their letter. So that would be just their dollar amount, the other libraries that goes on.
So Northern Water. Okay, make sure you we can kind of see the rest of the budget. So the board, so I handed this out ahead of, I got to page 13. So page 13, there's I call them non-department costs for elections and workers' comp and insurance and all kinds of other stuff. And you can see the change from one year to the next. Now, I think it's important to note that inside the office administration budget, there's 25,000 for insurance broker services, and there's 15,000 for consulting services, because you're going to hire. In my opinion, you shouldn't have a company that has material weaknesses in its audit. In my opinion, we can save $30,000 in its audit if we hire in this budget, if we hire a finance director going forward, because they will eliminate the need for consulting services and also for higher audit costs. But that's things that we got to talk about. Page 14 and 15 were the human services fund. This got updated since I had it in there, but in total costs went down. Maybe 15,000 or so. The debt fund is page 16. So that includes the CapEx loan and how that gets paid to pay off, or the levy and how it pays off the CapEx loan plus payments on the Saxon Harbor loan. Page 17 is all the non-major funds and how that flows through. And then in the summary I give you, Kristen, on Thursday, the capital fund. Included. I just want to stop there on revenue and expenses for the board. Is there any questions on the ones I hit on, or any other ones that you looked at that you had any questions on?
I just have a clarifying question, Kurt. So on one of the front ones, it had, got a page here. And I know the answer to the question, so I'm not asking the question because I don't know. I'm asking the question because you didn't say it.
Okay,
And
fire away.
I want it to be.
Yeah, thank you.
So is this a balanced budget?
Oh, I'm gonna get to applied funds and all that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna get to applied funds.
It says
It's a good
zero.
question.
It
Yep,
says revenues equal expenses.
yep.
So
The
you
next,
balance
the
it.
next thing in the back, yeah,
Okay.
talks about applied funds and how it balances. Any other questions on it?
Yeah, under, page 14, under human services funds, are you still waiting for, state figures to come in for those numbers for 2023?
You know, honestly, when September 10th hit, because I had to get it out for finance, I did, I ran out of time. Yeah, this is,
somewhere I just didn't want.
yeah, no. I think anytime, there's always estimates that are made. Human services is one of them. Many people have to make some estimates of what happened, and that gets included. But literally, when I had to put this to the treasurer, ran out of time. Any other questions from the board?
I
Yep.
do have one more. So is anybody working on the budget modifications that still need to be done for 2025? I know you're not doing budgets anymore, so is anybody on staff working on those 2025 budget modifications? Because they'll need to be done.
Now I'm back on page 2 of the, I'm gonna move on. Now I'm back on page 2 of the narrative. I think that answers no. Now I'm back on page 2 of the narrative and talk about the carbon credit fund. So in 25, the Carnegie received about 1.5 million. We used a little over $1 million to pay down the tax harbor loan. So that leaves a balance of 445 in the carbon credit fund. 26 budget designates. Well, I think we should assign 400,000 to offset future operational costs. Can't emphasize enough, and nobody will know what happened other than me, where we were 18 months ago. It just can't be emphasized enough. $2.3 million. We were relying on funds that we had received to balance our budget. And I think we got to make sure we get out of this spot we're in and make sure what I'm presenting is correct and there's not some surprises. And so I think we should be prudent on how we spend that money. We may not need it. In fact, I'm going to guess in 26 we won't. I think the board has to make some decisions on how it wants to address the issues of the wage study and the benefits study. That would be my recommendation. That second paragraph under carbon credit fund says that while the county is hopeful those entities buying carbon credits become repeat customers, the 26 budget does not assume receiving any additional carbon credit revenue. Carbon credit market remains voluntary, and at this point, there's not enough history to budget or spend carbon credit revenue to those revenue received. That's the position of this budget. Again, I drafted it. Or I decided if they want to. You go to applied funds, answer Roxanne's question. So the cash on hand or applied funds is used to balance the budget. If you look on page 3, Schedule 1 on page, Schedule 3 on page 7, my apologies. That's a summary of all the funds I just went through, and it brings it forward, and it shows how it balances and how each fund balances to zero down on the bottom. Under revenues, right before you get to total revenues, you're going to see applied funds and also transfer in. Now that 90,000 in my final budget is going to go away, but basically cash on hand or applied funds are used to balance the budget. So this year we're using, it says 297,000. If you follow it straight across to the total line, 297,980 to balance the budget, which is about 1.5% of your total budget. For reference, last year, because we were working through what we had to work through, we were at 574,000. 2024 it was 2.35 million. 2023 it was 1.5 million. We've come a long ways, baby. Used to be a cigarette commercial. But it's got to be sustained. You have to have people on staff that are going to know how to take this and continue it and make it work in the future. Wages and benefits. County's workforce composition has changed slightly since December 23. County manager and director of finance are new positions. There's no denying that. But they got fixed into this whole process of how you make this budget work. For most departments, there really hasn't been any change. Page 3 of the narrative talks about wages, and one thing the board has to consider is what do we want to do for wages? Do we want to give raises? Do we not want to give raises? Do we want to address what's in the wage study, or do we want to ignore what's in the wage study? I'm one that says you should address it. Other people may say, let's forget about it. That's fine. But we got to decide what we want to do. The benefit portion of the budget talks about two things. It talks about health insurance premium, provides a schedule on the breakdown. This one assumed a 9.5% increase, so I got to tweak it a little bit. And it increases the premium share from 13 to 14% based on recommendations in the benefits study. It's my recommendation that the payment in lieu gets set at $3,000 and $6,300 respectively, just for easier math. The deductible changes, that's scheduled down on the bottom, so it increases $250 for a single and $500 for family, again, based on the recommendations of the benefits study. We all sat through the benefits study. We all sat through the wage study. You have to make your own determinations of what you think you heard or not heard. I think there's some things the county should address. It's mostly good and positive, but there's some things we have to do. I think from a total taxpayer standpoint, the fact that our pot of money that we have in the payroll pool of around $6 million is at 97% of the median income of the surrounding communities we chose, I think is a sense of knowledge for both taxpayers and the board that we haven't funded about the right amount. But when you dig into those numbers, there's some issues we have to address. Capital fund on page 4 talks about 5-year goal. The plan is to fund around $700,000 annually. If you look at the 5-year plan, it's got some ups and downs, but you got to make sure you're planning for that. And I think this budget does that. Not only that, but it allows us to pay for and plan for those investments going forward. For future expense growth, I think more than anything, what I've learned in the last year is I think I finally got it down to what the core, our core business model is and what the issues are. And somebody's going to have to take that, and you're going to have to understand that. You're going to have to make sure that that works going forward. But each year, the budget has to balance the taxpayer, the wage and benefit cost pressures, and inflationary increases to services provided to carry out the mandates required by the state. County expenditures are going to keep growing. There's no doubt about it. If wages and benefits alone just go up 3%, you got to come up with $250,000 in revenues every year. And while some state aids increase to offset that expense growth, most of them don't. They're trending flat. So that's a real problem, because when you look at your revenues, 67% of your revenues are flat. Try running a business on flat revenue. So it puts a lot of pressure on the levy to make that difference up. Increases to the base levy alone aren't sufficient to cover our expense growth. The legislature puts caps on that. You get $50,000 a year. This county can't live on $50,000. So if the finance director is not going to be higher, then somebody's got to figure out how you're going to live on more than $50,000 a year, and how you're going to manage that tax levy, and how you're going to manage the debt levy, and how you're going to figure that out, because there are some pending difficult issues yet, even though we've come a long way, baby. This doesn't just get solved overnight. that's the draft budget. Murph, I think your idea is next week you come back and you vote on it. Obviously, there's differences of opinion on the staff and stuff like that. But I think that's where I would be at on that, unless anybody has any specific questions for me, or if I didn't think I addressed those questions. I've been doing it for 3 years, Murph.
I know.
Because there's nobody on staff that can do it.
Instead of going fishing, labor budget. Come a long way at this board. Came from pencil and paper, 20-page, they don't budget. Some people on this board had asked me that this is a lot to take in, and when they vote on it today would be disrespectful. So some of the people want to go home, they want to look at this. Want to look at what I wrote, where these people are going, how this is all going to work. I want everybody to go home. I want everybody to look at this. I've seen it since finance. We had finance 2 weeks ago. I called Kurt probably 5 times. There's stuff I didn't know. I'm not afraid to ask him. If there's a question that you have for next week, can you get it to me so I can get it answered? So next week when you come in, if we have the answer for your question, you know, any board member asks, come get it to me. I'll try to answer it, or the Kurt can sure again. Okay. Not just coming on the fly, but I want everybody to digest this. Like do it for 20 minutes. It's a lot to take in. I want everybody, I want you to go home, I want you to look at it, I want you to call your constituents. I want the place packed next week. That's loud outside. That means at least I know people are interested in what we're doing. We'll even have it in the courthouse if we get too much work in the morning. Crank it up. All right? I like it. I think he did a hell of a job. I think the board should thank him for it because, like I said, before, and you know, we even asked him to help us when we first asked him. We looked into it, and he did. And he finds new chapters. But what he did, you can't teach. You can't teach that. That's it. I mean, loves numbers, loves them. Like a baby loves a stray dog. Just loves to do it. You can't teach that. All right. So is everybody in agreement that we go on for a week? We look at all this information that's put in front of you. Come back and you can vote whatever you want, but we're either doing it or not. We're at a fork in the road right now. This county is. We're either going to do it or not. Fair enough. Thank you, Kurt.
Are you still vote on the budget draft?
We're gonna vote on the budget draft, we're gonna vote on the finance director and the board. Okay, and like Kurt said, if it all doesn't go down and we do vote for it next Tuesday, it's not like when you come to work Wednesday, some people are moving, some people will be staying for months, they moving. So Stacy, of course, and Eric, and I think we gotta get UW extension on there.
One more thing on this agenda, if you're gonna vote on let's move the seniors back to where they belong.
Then you come next week and get a plan of how you would do that, Paul. Where you want to put them, there's 5 of them, when they used to be there, it was only 3. But yeah, I like ideas, but just like this thing right here, this is 2-3 weeks in the making. But if you want to do it, you come with a plan for the rest of the
What
board.
do you think if we do the moving, the band moving together, maybe some group from here would move there and stay together?
Come with a plan.
I am not in charge. I can talk.
You're an ideas guy.
Well, yeah, I got ideas.
I got tons of them, but they didn't put it in the.
Put on an agenda.
All right, there you go. Right, yeah, if you want to do it, hey, I think we should move them. What I'm saying, Paul, is when ADRC used to be in the senior center, there was less people, isn't that right, Diane?
Correct, and the ADRC has to stay together as a unit.
And there's more of them now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the positions that are within the ADRC are right, and has to stay together.
You understand that, Paul? We can't split them up.
I hear it, but I don't really even know why.
It's a statute, state statute. We don't know why a lot of things are state statute, but they are.
That's the law, it's in the statute. What's that under?
You got something. Ally, you know. How many people are in the ADRC?
Five.
Five full-time county staff, and then we have visiting staff that utilize the conference. We share services with the ADRC consortium.
Okay, sounds good, come back in a week, check. Everybody has time to look at it. Okay, yeah. All right, number 18, resolution 2025-4030, approving an average of CSS, CSP, CLTS, H manager position. Any motion? Motion by Mario. Hey, some discussion on that. Do you have any discussion with, that's all we're doing is taking a contracted position and making one of ours
Right, that's
more
what
of an
it is.
advantage, yeah.
We're making this position ours. It was part of a contract with North Land Counseling, and they were unable to fill it or unwilling to fill it, and they really want out of the contract. So we're actually saving a little bit of money by getting out of this contract. So, and then we'll be contracting for the free services that I have been using through Northland. They're going to be contracted staff through the county. So, no benefits.
Do we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carried. Resolution 2025-4037, hire Connie M. Butler as an insurance broker. Need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Roxanne, need a second.
Support.
Support by Jamie. Okay. I'll talk about this, Jay or Kurt.
Well, I can talk about it real quick. At the August finance meeting, we voted to hire them for a year. So we had them do a wage and benefits study this year. Benefit portion of the study was $7,500. They would waive that if we did a one-year consulting agreement with them. Finance committee talked about that. And I think we should do that, hire them for a year and see what they do. They've already negotiated down their insurance upgrade a little bit, but I think there's things in that benefits study that I think the county should take on, and we need our benefit program hasn't been critically reviewed or evaluated. I don't know, I'll say for 20 years, and you ought to do it. And we ought to really look hard at those recommendations they had, adding tiers, considering high deductible plan, consolidating non-medical. Anyways, that was passed at the August.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that they've already, our insurance came in over 10%. They leveraged it down to 9.5 and now down to 7.5. So they've already, on our behalf, worked with insurance companies to bring our rate down from 7.5, which is a savings of about, I guess at 9.5, that's $171,000 increase, if I'm not mistaken. Then it's not bad.
1% is worth, you got a 1.7 million.
So I use 1.8 million. I use 1.8 million times
Sure.
9.5%.
So the cost was 25,000.
Yep.
That was 7,500 for the benefit part of it, but they're waiving that if we pay them the 25,000 this year coming up. So it's really only costing us 9,500. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, they'll waive. We already agreed to hire them to do a wage and benefits.
Right. That was 25 grand.
Yep, but of that, portion of that was the benefit study was 7,500.
Right.
They will waive that.
Okay.
If we hire them as a consultant broker for a year, and we can determine whether those services that they provide are worth it or not. And that was at our August meeting, that, the committee, I'm not sure, I know you had a little question, but the committee decided at the meeting that we should hire them for a year and see what they could do for us and help us implement through the benefit committee that Murph formed with some employees, and go through and do that and see what a high deductible plan looks like, talk about another premium tier and talk about those other.
So we're really only paying 9,500.
There's no impact on this year's budget, but there would be it's in, I have it in the number, but there would be
Yeah,
17,000.
you had it in the number.
$17,000.
Yes. Long answer, but yes, sorry.
You have a motion in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. Number 20, discuss action on the wage study. I don't really think we should have a motion or a second. I want to discuss this, and we'll bring this up next week too. Kurt and me and the finance committee talked about this. Yeah, we had a wage study. Are we going to take the information we got and use it? Or we just forget it?
Yeah, I would just say for this board, and then we'll go in closed session and talk about some specific individuals, but I think there was 3 things in the wage study that we talked about in finance, and I think everybody on finance thinks we should do it. We should adopt the grade levels and the control points as a basis for what we're doing, but we should address or begin to address our wage compression issue. So there's certain things that were done in the past that caused that, and if you read through the wage study, and everybody was here when they did it, higher, I'll say generally, and it's not everybody, but generally some of the higher grade levels are falling below the median market, where our lower grade levels actually are above the median market. That's because we used to give everybody the same wage increase every year, whether it was 50 cents or 75 cents or $1, under fairness, but that's not, of course, fair to the people on the other end. So you kind of crunch together. The market says that wages are more spread out a little bit. Like I said before, if you're a taxpayer or board member, there's some assurance to know that in the total payroll pot we budgeted for, we're paying for, we're at 97% of the median market. This board talked about in previous meetings wanting to be at about 100% of the median. That means there's people paying more, some people less. We don't want to be on the low end. We sort of wanted to start this off. And so those would be 2 things. And the last one is it also gives this board an opportunity to do some internal realignment. And I'll give you an example of one that I'll recommend to the finance committee at the next agenda. They had the Human Services Director as 15, it's the only 15 in the company. I think that it would make sense for our county, based on what I understand it to be, that that'd be a 14, and have them aligned with forestry, health, highway, I'm gonna miss one, sheriff. I might be missing one. But I think for Iron County, it makes more sense that that group is sorted together. They're the group that controls probably 75–80% of the budget. They got 75% of the employees. And that group has a different. So that would be an example of internal alignment. You guys all have the information. You go through it and you look at it, and there might be some other ones you might suggest. So at the next finance meeting, we're going to pick that up and continue that conversation. And it's going to come back to this board eventually, and we got to decide how we want to address it and how we want to, if we want to address it. And it's to solve it, it's going to take time because it took a long time to get to where we're at. But that would be the things that are going on. When we go into closed session, we'll talk about a couple specifics and continue that conversation. So that's all I had on the wage study.
Thank you, Kurt. 8/21, the next meeting date will be October 7th. We approved today, 6 o'clock. Okay, then I need a motion to go to closed session for Wisconsin statute 1985. Employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data, or any public employee of the governmental body for exercise responsibility. Discuss wages and benefits for specific individuals. I need a motion. Mario, need a motion? Carl, support it. Roll call vote, Richard.
Hager. Bush. Paul. Hanson. Erickson.
Yes.
Bose. Lauer. Yes. Eugene. Yes. Hiller. Wolf.